Not sure why.
Capital fund remote for a while, so move.
And we want to ensure that, Lisa, are you here?
Yep, I'm here. I was a little delay on my computer.
Is, does your update, is it audible or is it, do you have a little presentation piece?
I have just a quick presentation.
Okay, then can we turn the screen a little bit?
Yeah.
So does anyone see
You might
this?
need to move over to see. Can you see all right?
Yeah, I have to send a
Oh, yeah.
request for sharing.
Right, yeah. Let me close this off. And then there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Lisa, I think you have the floor.
Okay, great. Well, hi, Lisa Vickers, GEI. Just want to give a quick update. Let me just, you can see my screen here, just double checking.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just quick assessment feasibility design study, February check-in. So just since we last were in Castine at the end of January, some project updates. We've been, looking at some of the feedback that we received from the community forum, also from our site assessment, thinking about some of the priority uses that we heard for folks, but also kind of keeping it in the context of the flood vulnerability maps that we've put together, and then just some preliminary adaptation strategies as we sort of meet internally and talk about that. And just, I wanted to just kind of, I think what was really helpful, not only seeing the dock at high tide for us and seeing how high the water could get at a relatively high tide that day, but also the low tide and looking at the condition of the bulkhead. In some areas, the little concerning. And then, just looking at some of the sheet pile at the top of the wall, some of the water leakage that was coming out from this pipe. I did go back and look at the last assessment report that I found in the files, and that was from 2014. So, one of the recommendations, I think would be to have an updated condition assessment done, just, looking at the sheet pile coating, just kind of get an idea, because any improvements that we want to do, we want to make sure we have a solid foundation to do that upon. So if there's a more recent assessment that was done that you know of, certainly helpful to pass it along. But again, that's what I found in the files was from 2014 that had made some recommendations, not just related to the sheet pile, but also the docks as well. And so kind of thinking about the docks, obviously you've made improvements since 2014 as a result of the flooding, but thinking of the docks again, kind of as this expansion plan that we have on the table, also in the context of what we heard from the community. Really, first off from the meeting was a lot of passive use of the town dock was important. Just, being able to sit and have lunch or going in the morning, walking along the waterfront, gazing at the stars, at the ocean. That's important to the community. That's what I heard, at least. Did hear about the bathroom, and then that kind of hearing that showers and laundry would be helpful. And that kind of goes to what's the future of the waterfront use? Do you want to kind of market it more economically for out of the area boaters that can land here and offer those different amenities? Again, when I look at the flooding maps, is a bathroom in that location a good idea, or can it be sited elsewhere? Because looking at those maps, that is going to be flooded. And I do have those maps on this presentation just to sort of refresh everyone's memory of what that looks like. Community, I heard economic activity. So again, the yacht club destination, could you provide additional amenities, market, more eating options along there, retail, dining space, those sort of ideas. Boat ramp improvements, I heard improving the flow, parking. So those are some, in the context of okay, what's the existing condition of the structure? And again, we did, just a very quick site assessment, and it wasn't like an engineered review of what the existing conditions are, and that would be a recommendation, since the last one that I see was from 2014. And then in the context of what does the community want? Going back to those flood maps, we're looking at the existing still water. So this is those 100-year storm maps, and this is what you saw in January, again, those flood levels. And in the town dock area, there was a lot of great ideas, but I think we want to keep it in our near term highest annual tide. This is what we're seeing about twice a year. If we're going to be redeveloping this or improving what's already there, what are we thinking of? Here's 2050, again, where that bathroom is sited now. If the town wanted to pursue maybe the idea of a bathroom that has showers and laundry, is that better sited elsewhere? Again, and then the 2070, it's only increasing the flooding on the highest annual tide each year, and then looking again longer term 2100. Again, some of the initial recommendations from the site visit and the forum is looking at that, update the condition assessment of particularly the bulkhead. I know obviously with the town dock improvements, I think, talking about the concrete that was placed when you redid the town dock is helpful, and it would be good to sort of have an assessment of the structural stability of that if we are going to be making, some of these were larger improvements. And get an idea that sheet pile coating, monitor the deterioration. The bulkhead flood adaptation strategy, kind of one thought after looking at that, is could you oversheet that existing bulkhead and increase the elevation? That's one idea. I mean, that's kind of the foundation of the town dock area, so it is a good idea to focus on that area. And then again, in this maybe future dock expansion plan, which Derek did provide, that there is some federal funding that had been approved for that. I think what would be important is we have that initial design drawing that was done, but really kind of focus in on what is the dock capacity needs of the community, and then using that, once you kind of have that plan further along, you want to look at the dock expansion as part of the flood vulnerability and adaptation strategy. So again, those use of the concrete floats can be served as sort of the wave attenuation device that was brought up too at the community forum. The boat ramp, it's not an ideal like flow there. And is that possible to relocate? There was, I thought, looking at, although our focus area is this town dock area, what I want to do as part of this initial assessment report is kind of look at more comprehensive design of the waterfront in Castine as a whole. So are there other town-owned properties or, partnerships? I don't know, that's probably less likely, but that you could relocate the boat ramp for public use. Again, the bathroom, bringing that up again, I heard a lot of feedback related to that and the importance of that. So is that possible to relocate and still serve, obviously location's important. And so, you don't want to locate it so far out of the waterfront area that it's just not an asset that's used now. But again, look at some other town-owned relocation areas. And then also heard that maybe year-round would be valuable for the community. And so kind of the next steps, we have a lot of this, we're synthesizing through and kind of figuring out, the best way to present this is I want to identify some town-owned parcels for other community waterfront uses that as maybe a possibility. Then that's mainly the boat launch, I think would be better served in another location, if that's a possibility. If not, then let's go back to how can we adapt that current location to meet the needs of the town in the context of flooding, because parking does seem to be, concern. There's no trailer parking there. The Riverwalk, I heard someone mention, that's a little pie in the sky, but I just included this on there. If you are going to look at it as more of a comprehensive strategy, could you think about a Riverwalk area? Because that does seem, again, the passive use of the waterfront is excuse me, it's important. And again, the bathroom, laundry, shower facilities. Derek and Noel Musson and I just had some back and forth emails about planning for a second community forum to really focus in on those priorities. And so like
She's still there. Is she still talking?
I probably frozen.
I didn't see one of those little warnings come through. Hold on.
oh, am I back now?
You're
Am I
back.
back?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Oh, I've had a day with my computer today. Let me see.
We're discussing the second forum.
Yeah, okay. So Noel and I are going to meet tomorrow to kind of, put our heads together and just kind of maybe come up with what we're thinking would be most valuable based on what we heard from the first forum. And then we'll be in touch with Derek if that's something that the town would want to move forward with. And then what we're doing internally is looking at adaptation strategies. And just I put these kind of 3 items here. I've mentioned some of the larger infrastructure I think that we want to focus on, but even small strategies like a kayak bike rack, that's a low cost and it seemed like it would be a valuable asset. EV chargers not as low cost, but something that I actually had a friend of mine, she teaches at UNE and she was at Maine Maritime Academy and she has a electric vehicle and she was saying she was in Castine for a long meeting and there was only the slow charger at MMA and she was worried just because, so something like maybe looking at that as like in a town dock publicly owned area, adding in the fast chargers, something like that. I thought the boat idea was an interesting idea as well, especially I don't know. I mean, that might be a little, again, pie in the sky and long-term future, but it's just something I wanted to include on here because it is innovative. And then a shuttle service, again, going back to focus on the bathroom, I mentioned that a lot, but one thing I know, I believe someone I heard, oh, the hill and maybe has detracted people from walking further than they do in the town of Castine if they're visiting by water. So having sort of a shuttle service so that if you do relocate some of these assets or, again, want more services to increase the economic development, that's a great option that maybe would be, a seasonal shuttle that you could get to these places that maybe need to be relocated in light of these flooding maps that that we've put together. So, so short term, what we're doing internally is compiling some of the adaptation strategies, and then what we want to do is kind of meet again. I think, because we have talked about putting in a concept design, and so I want to hear back from the harbor committee and the town. Where do you think if we're going to focus on 1 or 2 assets, be it the sheet pile wall or maybe look more at the town dock expansion or just existing docks, what do you find would be most valuable for our focus area? So I'm going to stop sharing now, just save my internet.
You want comments?
Oops.
You want that feedback right now?
Well, I mean, initially it'd be great to have a discussion quickly. I know you guys have other agenda items, but just to hear what you thought, from the community, what you heard, and yeah, just any bit of feedback's helpful.
My comment is, okay, the space is obviously extremely limited. There's a lot of ideas and it's like you're asking for a lot. And the water issue is going to complicate everything. Your idea of going out with the concrete docks is a way of expanding the space. And on those concrete docks, you could put, kayaks or some other things. But I don't see too much in that little confined space. Not much we can do. Maybe that little triangle coming down, Like instead of having a cannon there, maybe put a building there, maybe put the bathroom there. You're looking for elevation on something, so moving her off location, that's probably the only way, I think, that you're gonna get a lot of the, demands. If you want a bathroom that's gonna be more, weather resistant, it may have to either go up higher or off location. Higher is probably, the easier way of doing it, just raise them. And anything that, taking that in mind, I mean, everybody does love going down there, and they do like it to be low, and people just love the ambience that we have. But it is a tough call to, to the ramp. I don't know if there is not, I don't know where else in the town there will be another location for the ramp. It's pretty tight. How about MMA is going to give us share some property, or share something to do a dual ramp with them. But I don't know if they have the room either.
How about if the town approached the Smith property owners and we try to buy it?
Which one is that? Is that the one?
That's the structure just past the ramp.
of that new house there?
It's not new. It's down on C Street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the old sailmaker lock.
That's not new.
Well, it was remodeled in 2014.
Right.
Oh, okay, well, that would be,
But anyway,
you're open to that?
that would open up some opportunities
That would
for
be a big.
wider ramp, a different location for the ramp.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking $1,000+, but
You think a travel would be less expensive?
some of the travel that is you need a trained person to operate it, right?
Yeah.
Who's there?
Yeah, but you don't need it that many times. It's a really slow process of launching.
So, I mean, we have the academy travel lift, and probably the easier way to do is just negotiate something.
Well, that's what
Rather than the other.
Get it.
I got my boat launched by that. It's
That's all right.
cost me $50.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, no, that would take a lot of pressure off.
And you could also use a small crane to drop a 15-foot dinghy. Back in that.
Yeah, the problem with people dry sailing on their boats is they put a trailer in the boat down there.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying for the day, I'm just saying for launch in the dinghy in the spring, because floating launches.
Well, I think those pieces can be debated. What Lisa is looking for is some feedback on her focus in terms of where we might have this contractor be interested in developing plans. I think the elevation piece for the town bathrooms would be valid. And underneath those spaces, you could have bike and kayak storage if you had elevation of the bathroom. And you could elevate and have bathroom expansion to include showers potentially. I think, kayak, that idea that there are some short-term, what seem to answer requests from the general public, like the kayak rack, and could be done in the thought process around the new pump station too. And in the design of the pump station, having exterior spaces for kayak racks or bike racks. That's another short-term opportunity to address the public interest. I think the concrete potential wave attenuation expansion outward is going to meet some desires of the waterfront committee to look at expanding the dock and water usage. But we are in definite need of an updated survey of that bulkhead to move forward. And I think that should be prioritized as a conditions assessment of the most important asset, which is the bulkhead retaining the integrity of the parking lot for whatever use it becomes.
I was gonna say, if I may, just that, like, talking about all the, what I see as slightly cosmetic, aspects of the dock is good, like updating kayak bike racks, electric car chargers, would be great, but I feel like personally protecting like the integrity of the dock that we have right now should probably be the main issue, because if we don't kind of do that first, any infrastructure that we put in is gonna wash away like in the last storm. So Just, that's where I would be coming from.
If we were to do a survey of our bulkhead there and we find that it needs serious attention, would this be a time to raise it up a few feet at the top of it?
I think that would be a debate piece. You know, what we don't want to do is have a swimming pool.
No, you raise it up and you fill in the parking lot too.
Well, we then have access challenges with our abutting neighbors.
Yep.
And I think we've, had this debate many times in terms of what might be a viable solution. And we have experimented now with new decking surface, and we are waiting to see how that continues to develop. But then we're talking, bond issues to rebuild these pieces. And similarly, if we're looking at the town purchasing it property, then that may very well be a bond issue to go and have a part of a larger plan of increasing the height, buying property. And, rather than trying to go back and do it again.
So the environment for both state and federal money is not looking great out there.
Yeah, well, we may not even get what was committed to us.
Yeah, that was my question. I wanted to know.
So I think we do, as a harbor committee, need to prioritize the bulkhead condition evaluation, because that's going to be foremost in our plan to expand the dock, and whether we're matching the lifetime of that bulkhead to the work that we're then hoping to expand with. And we have, as a harbor committee, looked at trying to find contractors to resurface that, and we have had very little success in finding a contractor.
Do we service what?
The bulkhead.
Oh, yeah, we did 2 RFPs on that.
Yeah.
One on both, and that one was good.
Yeah, and so any experience you may have in sourcing those and understanding the potential costs will help us build out our RFP potential to attract at least a contractor that may help us maintain what's in existence.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Does anyone else have any input?
I would just say that concept of resiliency is only going to be based on bulkhead height and wave action in the parking lot. You're never going to stop the water from getting in. It's just not going to happen. Anybody has that pie in the sky idea, it's just not going to happen. I mean, there's too many other properties that aren't doing anything. The water will come up around the corner and you can't stop it. So stopping the wave action to get into the parking area is the only thing you can do for resiliency on, salvaging what's in the parking lot and the pump house and the restroom, which you're not going to stop the water.
So with those concrete floats, if they're left in year round, would they be a partial answer for that?
Not a bit.
No?
Well, that would be a valid question for Lisa to supply some information.
Well,
No, I realize that. No, I'm talking about that way back.
Oh,
Way back.
Well, if we do get that federal money that we hope is coming, I think spending it on expanding the dock and adding that wave attenuation stuff is a good way to spend it.
Yeah, I think wave attenuation might be a priority in terms of future expansion pieces for us. I would agree with Scott is that we're not going to hold the sea back. And I would like to think about mitigating the effects of storm wave action as opposed to trying to build barriers.
And some of the other towns, like Rockland, maybe you were talking about there, we're thinking of putting another rock breakwater, yeah. They were gonna add, I know they got that big one that's there now, but I think you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, there were plans to do an additional breakwater, is that correct? You hear me?
Me?
I think we don't, your sound is off.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Okay, I think you mentioned that there was something going on in Rockland, another breakwater you were working on or
Oh,
planning to do something like that? I just want-
well, yeah, so nothing that we're planning, but in Belfast, we're working with Belfast and their existing breakwater. They have had some studies done looking at lengthening it and elevating it. But as part of a very similar study, their main University of Maine, the Composite Center, is actually developing these deployable, like temporary breakwaters. They're not, again, it is actually in development. It has not been deployed in the state of Maine, but it is something, I think a lot of communities, not just in Maine, but throughout, are really trying to think about, we've always done things one way, and in the light of permitting issues and, a new breakwater be extremely hard to permit nowadays, and costly too. So they have thought of this kind of innovative approach where you could deploy it. It wouldn't be subject to DEP because it would be temporary. And that would help with some of the coastal flooding concerns. And so that is, something that we could consider. And then I just wanted to mention, a colleague of mine, recently, it was an interesting approach where it made me think of Castine, where there's essentially what you would have is keep the elevation of the bulkhead as it is, but there's this new system under development where as the water is rising, it basically kind of flows down into this chamber, and this secondary wall comes up to help, keep the water back from flooding, like the parking lot area. Cost prohibitive, most likely, but again, it's something that in future ideas, this is something that I think we haven't always done it that way. And so it's another innovative approach that, at least keep an open mind to some of these. I think funding wise, they're probably a bit out of scope, but I thought it was a really neat idea where you wouldn't have to necessarily think about MMA as much, where it would be just a wall that comes up as the water comes up to help keep it from flooding the parking lot and the infrastructure there. So a little off topic, but just wanted to note.
No, the Venice.
When we had the floods last year, were there Jersey barriers lined up
Yeah, and they got washed around.
and they just got pushed around? Alright,
It was, yeah, really funny to watch. Slowly.
Any other comments for Lisa? We're going to lose our Zoom link and have to renew
Okay.
it shortly.
Yeah.
I think if we don't have any other comments, we can further the conversation by responding through Derek with email as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Um,
And I will be just kind of giving an update at the Town and Gown on Friday as well. So, oh,
yeah, anyway.
what time is your meeting on Friday? Is that at 9 and 10?
9. Mm-hmm.
And it's probably town hall, I guess.
Yeah.
Town hall,
Derek gave a link. I'll be
Zoom.
participating by Zoom. But I'm meeting with Noel Musson again tomorrow to talk about maybe a second forum too. But I think from just, the GEI side of things is I liked hearing from the community, but I do want to keep it in the context of, this is a vulnerable site that, we really, again, need to think about adaptation. And when you mentioned the bulkhead is the kind of, that's the most important part of this, and what can we do to keep basically the foundation in place. I think the direction that you guys have mentioned is, I think on track.
Great. Well,
So
if there's anything before Friday, maybe we'll get it introduced or channel it to you for Friday. If not, continue. And I think a second town, like the Harbor Committee would be supportive of a second town meeting. We would like to focus that, I think, more on some of these identified issues rather than it being an information gathering piece.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Any further pieces for Lisa? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For the update, and some of us may see you on Friday.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, well, there's a possibility that a concrete float that stays in all year has breakwater wave attenuating pieces that would be very valuable. Or one of those more permanently offshore in the existing mooring field that is, you know, also a pump out station. And there's lots of potential there.
Yeah. Just gotta take the Academy's old ship, put it right out there. Worked great for the Academy last year.
Yeah.
Well, we could, we could, the academy, old ship, we could have some dolphins, put right, another dolphin right in front of our spot. And then a big storm, have the ship move over a little bit to the blockade.
Then we get animated.
Okay, so moving further along here, we need to review and approve the past minutes. So we have the minutes from what was it,
It was
Last month.
1:15.
1:15?
It was asked, Sue asked me just to change, one aspect of the Harbor Masters report, just adding in Islesboro Marine, the title of the,
Take out Alvor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
that. So that's been done and I've made that edit and I'll send it back in. Just see if.
Any other concerns by members? No.
I'll move we approve as modified.
Approved, second. All in favor? Okay, Scotty, maybe on to the Harbor Masters report.
Mostly talking about budget and future fees, changes if you want to do that. I know Bill was against it,
Well, I'll look into this, there's some ideas.
but I think somehow we need to pull out together though this month. You know, I don't know if you're gonna do that tonight, but I think look at these things that I just handed out and find out where you think somebody else has done something that's a better idea than what we're doing and increasing the income, without potentially hurting, you know, the poor people. So,
Well, I do think that we shouldn't be competing with Eaton's, and we should have rates that allow success at Eaton's and Dennett's if they want to offer docking
Right.
person. Which means either driving them up above theirs so that they are more competitive and drive traffic to them, but that's, the town shouldn't be competing with local business trying to make this happen.
we've been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Club does the same thing.
What does Eaton charge per foot these days, do we know?
I don't know, but I'll ask, and I think that would be an important aspect.
Agreed.
Also, you mentioned the urging for moorings. Are there town rental moorings?
Yeah, too.
Two big ones, the big ones are like the